Hi, this is Leetcode question, maximum number of groups with increasing length. This is the third question of weekly contest number 355. For this example, the array length is 4 and the answer is 4. Now to solve this question, assume we have this function which tells us if it's possible to create this number of groups. So given the number of groups, the function return true if it's possible to create this number of groups, and false if it's not possible. Now if it's possible to create the number of groups, we can try with higher value than this. If it's not possible, we need to try with lower value. And so to solve this question, we will do binary search in this loop. This binary search or this loop will look for the highest number that this function can return true, and the possible values from 1 to the size of the array, as the size of the array is the highest possible number of groups. Now the question is how this function determine if it's possible to create this number of groups. Now assume we want to check for number equal 3. Is it possible to create 3 groups? So we have first group, this is the second group, and this is third group. And in the condition, each group must have length strictly greater than the previous group. So the target is to fill the first group with 1 element, the second group with 2 elements, the third group with 3 elements. And so the first iteration, we iterate over values from 0 up to the size of the array. So we have I equal 0, and required represents the number of elements we need to fill in the group, and we have the group's number, which is 3. So this is required, and this is groups, and this is I. So required plus equal groups, so this is 3, and we subtract 1, so this is 2. Now what does that mean? We need 3 elements at this iteration, and these 3 elements we will distribute them among all the groups, and the best option to take 3 elements is to go to the maximum value in the array, and the maximum value is the last element in the array. This is why we will iterate over the numbers from the last to the first, or from right to left. So this number has the maximum, and this is why we sorted the array. Now this number has 7 elements, and we only need 3 elements. So in this case, from 7 we take only 3, because if we take more than 3, there will be duplicates in the groups, and this is why we have this min condition, because we don't need duplicates. So we have 7 and we need 3, so we only take 3, and we distribute the 3 among the 3 groups. And we are done with this I. The next is at 5. Now I equal 1, or before that here we subtract required minus equal min, so we filled 3 elements, and so 3 minus 3 is 0. Now I equal 1, required equal the number of groups, which is 2, and we subtract 1 from this, groups is 1. Now for this iteration we need 2 elements, and we don't want to take it from the last one because we already took 3 elements. If we take any one more element, there will be duplicate, so we will try to take it from the next element, which is 5. Now we need 2, and we have 5, so again we take the minimum of 2 and 5, which is 2, because we don't need duplicates. So we take 2 elements and fill it with the last 2 groups. So this group, the first group, is full, and now the second group is already also full. Now required, we subtract the number of elements we already filled, which is 2. Now we have 2 minus 2 is 0. Now I equal 2, required is the number of the groups, which is 1, and do groups minus, which is 0. And this means for this iteration we need 1 element, and 1 element here we have 2, so we only take the minimum of 1 and 2. In this case it's 1, and we put it in the last group, and required minus equal min of required, and this value, in this case it's 1, so it's 0, and at the end we return true if this required is 0. In this case it's 0, and that means we can create 3 groups. So because we are doing binary search, we need to check now if it's possible to have 4 groups. So 4 groups, and the target is to fill the first group with 1 element, the second one with 2 elements, 3 elements, 4 elements. Let's see again how this works. I equal 0, and required equal the number of groups, and groups minus initially groups is 4, so now it's 3. Now for this iteration we need 4 elements to fill each group with 1 element, and the best thing to do is to look for the maximum value, which is the last value. Now we have 7 and 4, the minimum is 4, so we fill 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. Now I equal 1, required equal the number of the groups, 3, and the number of groups minus 2. Now we need 3 elements for this iteration, and here we have 5. We take the minimum, so 1, 2, 3. Then I equal 2, required equal the number of the groups, and this is 1. Now we need 2, and here we have 2, the minimum is 2, so we fill with 2 elements, 2 minus 2 is 0. Then I equal 3. Required equal the number of groups, which is 1. Group minus minus is 0. Now for this iteration we need one element, and the last element value is 1. The minimum between 1 and 1 is 1, so we take one element from this and we put it in the last group, and required minus equal the min. In this case it's 0, and 0 means the return value is true, and we managed to create this number of groups, and this is the maximum. So in this case the answer is 4. Now let's see, for this example we have 4 elements and the answer is 3. Let's try to first of all check for the number of groups equal 4. So we need 4 groups, 1 2 3 4. I equal 0. Required equal 4, and the groups minus minus 4 minus 1 is 3. For this iteration we need 4 elements and the value is 7, the minimum, so we need only 4 elements. We take from this 7 only 4, and the requirements now is 0. For I equal 1, required is 3, and the groups is 2. Now 3, the minimum of 3 and 5 is 3, so we take 3 elements from 5, and now this is 0. For I equal 2, required is 2, and the groups is 1. Now required is 2, and this element has only 1 value, so in this case we take this one element and put it in this group, and after this iteration 2 minus min, so we took one element, 2 minus 1 is 1, so we still need one element. We will try to find it in the next value here. I equal 3. Now requirement or required elements equal, here we have plus equal 1, the number of groups is 1, so for this iteration we need 1, and from the previous iteration we need also 1, so required plus equal groups equal 2, groups minus minus is 0. So for this iteration we need 2 elements and we only have 1 element, so we fill this with 1 element, and 2 minus 1 is 1, and the for loop is done, and the required is not 0, and this return false. In this case, in the binary search, we will try it with lower value, and if you try with the 3, it will return true. So when we tried with groups equal 4, this group only has 3 numbers, so, and this is 3, so this is not valid, and this is why we returned false. Now let's take this example. 2 2 2 and the answer is 3. Let's try directly with groups equal 3. So the target is this needs 1 element, this is 2 and this is 3. We try, so the array is sorted. The last element I equal 0, requirement or required equal the number of groups, which is 3. Groups minus minus is 2. For this iteration we need 3 elements, and this value or this index has only 2 elements, so we take all of these 2 elements, and 3 minus 2 is 1. So after this iteration we still need 1 element. We try to look for the next element. So I equal 1. Now required plus equal 2 in this iteration and 1 from the previous, so 1 plus 2 is 3. Required equal 3, and the groups now is 1. Now 3, do we have 3 elements here? No, we have only 2, so we take these 2 and we fill it in these 2 groups. 3 minus 2 is 1, so we still need 1 element. We try to look for the next iteration. Now I equal 2, required plus equal groups, so we need 1 for the current iteration and 1 from the previous iteration. 1 plus 1 is 2, so the required equal 2, groups minus minus is 0. Now 2 is the current index has 2, yes, so we take these these 2 values, put 1 here. Notice in the first iteration I put this one here, so I can remove this. So now we put 1 here and 1 here, and in the first iteration instead of putting this one here, can put 1 here and 1 here. So now this is has 3, this has 3, and this has 3 2 1, and so the return value will be true for this number of groups, and the answer, and this is the maximum answer because the length of the array is 3. Now for this example the answer is 2. Let's first try with groups equal 3. Now first thing is to sort the array. Here this is the first thing we do in the function. So after sorting the array, it has 1 2 2. Okay, I equal 0, required equal the number of groups 3, and groups minus minus is 2. Now we need 3 elements, and here we have only 2, so we take these 2, put them here. 3 minus 2 is 1. I equal 1, required equal, we need 2 for this iteration and 1 from the previous iteration. 1 plus 2 is 3, groups is 1. Now we need 3 elements. The current index has only 2, so we take these 2 3 minus 2 is 1. I equal 2, required equal 1, plus 1 is 2, groups is 0. Now we need 2 and we have only 1, so in this case the required is 2 minus 1. So if we put this one here, this group is still empty, so 2 minus 1 is 1. We still need one element. In this case we return false, and so we need to check for lower value. Let's see for groups equal to, how can this return true? Now groups equal to, and as we said, we need to sort the array to 2, so have 2 groups. I equal 0, required equal the number of groups, which is 2, groups minus minus is 1. Now we need 2 elements, and for the current I we have 2, so we take these 2, and 2 minus 2 is 0. Now for I equal 1, required is 1, groups minus minus is 0. Now the required is 1, and here we have 2, so we take one from these 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. Now I equal 2, required is 0, plus 0, which is 0, and so we don't need any elements in this iteration, and so required is 0, and to return true.